Welcome to the second block of the Speed and Agility unit of your athletic development program for the advanced athlete. I'm going to talk you through about some of the stuff we'd like you to get through in this unit. We're going to talk a lot of stuff that we've maybe done before because there's a lot of utility in getting the linear mechanics right for this unit, but also some progressions and things we'd like you to practice over the next block. Okay, so the first thing up is our linear mechanics. You'll have done these before. It's our A skips. So Annie, you want to do your A skips? So find about a 10-meter track at home if you can find it. And the linear mechanics that we did before, make sure that this time I'm going to focus a lot on your hand drivers. So getting your hands up to your lip and past your hip. But as they pass the hip, the elbow needs to break, and then you're getting the mechanics, which Ellie's going to demonstrate now. So pushing down into the floor. Make sure that elbow breaks. So it's kind of bent elbow. If you can extend, so we do one more. We can extend back over your hip. That's what we're looking for here. It just encourages more force into the floor. Good, and then everything else applies, right? So that motion of the why it's so important is that it's going to generate a little bit more force, and more force in the floor means faster athlete, right? So getting this mechanics right, and then getting this mechanics right, where you're pushing down with the balls of your feet, but also as you bring it up, the toe comes up with it. So it's not a flexed foot forward, because when that absorbs the force, it's going to take time and effort to generate more force, which is going to slow you down. So preparing the body and ready to hit the floor, getting your hands right will all contribute to a more forceful action. Okay, the next one then is the lateral A skip. So the same thing again, but this time we're moving laterally. Okay, so Ronan's going to demonstrate here. Same things apply. The arms break at the right time. They get into the lip and to the hip, and the balls of the feet is the contact with the floor with the toes up when you do the mechanics. Yeah, off you go. Yeah. So make sure you're practicing those mechanics, and some things may feel a little bit uncoordinated. Now, if it's the first time you do it, for sure it's going to be uncoordinated, but over time, repetition is what it's all about, is that uncoordinated pattern becomes more redefined, and then when it becomes more redefined, it'll start transferring better to your sport. Okay, now we're on to B skips, another coordinative problem, if you like, for the body to overcome. So it's that cyclic action of the foot coming through. Balls of the feet is still the contact of the floor, and it's basically scraping the floor as it's coming around. So you almost hear that action of the foot coming around, maybe in your living room or outside on a track, whatever it might be. Just make sure that cyclic action is coming through, and then the same mechanics apply. The thumb up to the lip and then past the hip, and it extends. Now if you practice it in these mechanics, trust me, it'll start transferring onto when you start sprinting and exploring different movements on the pitch. Okay, the next one then is our bounding. And the last time we did our bounding from a vertical displacement point of view. Today we want a more horizontal approach, so Ronan's going to demonstrate this. So as far forward as you can on each step, basically. If you just look at the mechanics here, there's a couple of important components about the mechanics here, is that when he hits the floor, his center of mass is underneath or slightly in front of his hip. So his center of mass. So it's not too far forward. If you just find yourself catching yourself forward and dragging yourself back over your center of mass, then you're probably taking it too far as a step forward. You really want to apply that force underneath, because at any point when you're applying force to accelerate, it's either going to be behind your center of mass, or in a max speed point of view, it's going to be under your center of mass. Anything ahead of your center of mass is usually going to slow you down, which we'll go through now in a second. Okay, so there are your mechanics of the movement. I want you to practice these, and this is part of the warm-up. You'll do it, of course, we would hope you do your stability and mobility before you do all this, but we'd like you to do that cycle twice, if not 3 times, to prepare yourself for what's about to come. So the next part of this is jump mechanics. So the jumping is a great way to get in some force producing exercises, but also force absorbing exercises. So this one is quite a challenging one, and please, if you find this very hard, go right onto left, because what we're doing here at the minute is jumping one foot onto the same foot, which is very challenging, because not only do you have to generate force with one leg, you have to coordinate it and absorb force when you land it. So for the first one, might be very simple. Left onto left, hop and absorb that force, okay? Then you go the same side, you can see the stability there trying to hold itself, hop and stick, left and right. Okay, so that's the pretty much easy one, and we're getting very good at forward, up and down motions. The next one is you jumping left and right. Okay, so left foot jumping left, absorb that forces, and right jumping right. Good. Okay, so good. You're hopping and sticking. It's quite safe environment. It's quite easy for this athlete to do it. So take a step forward. Now we're going to rotational. So we're going to go left, rotating to our left. Yeah. Good. Again, you can see the distances now, maybe not as much. So it's trying to generate force to try to jump onto that leg. So it's quite a challenging motion to do. But you need real practice on this. Good. So what I want here as well is that when Ronan's doing it, so if he's turning that side, it's kind of already turning and then jumping. I want you to generate the force now, in spot, and then apply that force to the transverse plane. So try that one again. So that's a bit better, and obviously the jump is better, but then you want to be able to stick that force as well. So show the ability to generate the forces, but also absorb those forces. So I want you to do that twice through. Do it 3 times through if you want more practice on it, but definitely twice through. So that'll be 6 jumps. We're going to do another 6 jump now, a bit more complex. So we're going to do 2 jumps in one. So it's left onto left onto left, but in different planes. So the first one is forward and then left. So same foot. Good. So now, what's important here is the mid jump is very important, and obviously the last one sticking as well. But you want to minimize that contact on the second jump, or on the first landing, if you like. Yeah. Again, okay, so now try it. So you're going forward onto left, we're going to forward onto rotational. So very, very difficult, but you might find yourself in a scenario where you got to decelerate forward, decelerate a ball coming, and then rotate back to defense, or maybe rotate into attack, whatever it is. Happens quite a lot in fielding when you land and absorb the forces and then have to rotate towards goal, whether it be defending, attacking. So this skill is quite a useful one to learn, but a very, very difficult one to execute, because every momentum is pushing you forward. You've got to slow that down and then generate force to rotate, which is a vital part of the sport. Okay, that was good. And then the last one, so that's 4. The next one is we're going to go here onto our left foot and then jump onto that side. So a lot more challenging for the knee, for the stability of the whole chain. Very, very difficult movement to try, and this is why you are advanced athletes. But practice it, jumping to our left, and then jumping, so we jump this way. So we go here, and then we jump here. If that makes sense. So you're jumping left, and then rotating right. Yeah, here, and then rotating right. Perfect. Good. And then you got to try and stabilize. Now do it all within the confines of the space you have, and obviously the control you feel. If you feel like I have to just do this mini jumps, perfect. I'd rather you do the jump slowly in a confined area that you feel comfortable before try and break the bank on excessive motions, because it is a very, very difficult exercise to attain, very, very difficult exercise to execute, but the transferability to your sport and the demands that you guys have is massive. So once you get those, add another set to them. Again, just the range, whatever. So I want you to do at least 2 sets of them, and if you feel you can do a 3rd set, go ahead and do a 3rd set. Okay, now we're going on to, we talked a lot about absorbing forces and generating forces. Now we're going to talk about it from a change of direction point of view. But before we go into lots of change of direction, we're just going to educate you a little bit on the best mechanics for deceleration. So we'll go back to our acceleration. So Annie, if you want to go first. So remember the acceleration mechanics, where we set a good athletic position into that sort of jump position where you feel comfortable jumping up, turning left and right, rotating. So you should feel comfortable in this position. Credit card under your heels is kind of the coaching point. And from here, you know what it is, but drop step into nice good linear mechanics, into nice good acceleration. And I want you to decelerate on this cone, right? So as you set up, have a go off it. Ellie knows what she's doing, and I'll talk you through what she's done after. So good mechanics, good posture, good setup. Off you go when you're ready. So good drive, and now we're focusing on the deceleration component here, right? So what we were looking for with Annie, I said about the center of mass, taking a step in front of your center of mass, absorb that forces. Then you should break down and get yourself into a good position to move from. So feet nice and wide, so I can jump here, I can change direction from here. I'm in a position to make an action after this. So you don't want to decelerate where you're predisposed to go forward and you can't do much from here, and you have to take another step then to gain your stability again. So make sure when you decelerate, good position, nice and flex, hips are a bit lower, and you're ready to move off again. Okay, and also show one way is important. If I show flat, if I decelerate and I'm just showing this way, and the person, my opponent, can go left or right, it doesn't give me an advantage, it gives the attacker advantage. So make sure you're left and right and you feel comfortable in moving, and it'll put you in a better position to be successful. Okay, so we're going to go again, this time facing the other way when you decelerate. So good position, accelerate, decelerate, facing the other way. Good. So that was good. So one big step into another one, wide base of support is ready to move from there. Next one up, we're going to go side on now. So whatever way you want to lead with your left hip in, you know the mechanics here is a step again, turn your hips, accelerate, and then decelerate on the 10-meter cone. Good. Decelerate onto that cone. Good. Nice way, wide base support. She's ready to move with her opponent or whatever it might be. Same thing again, this time facing away. So right hip is leading into the drill. Driving with the left foot. Accelerate, turn the hips. Decelerate in a good position to move from again. Good. And as the distance becomes bigger, the forces become more harder to absorb. Just take your time with the mechanics. Just make sure you're nailing the mechanics. 2 more to do. So and you want to go over your left shoulder when you turn. So same thing again, it's the right setup. Again, we're practicing all the stuff that's important. So good position here, turning over your left shoulder, spinning of the hips. When you're ready, drive, accelerate, and then decelerate onto the cone. So you're in a good position to move from. Okay, last one. Same thing again, we're going to go over our other side, over the other hip. So get into a good position, turn your hips, swivel, and off you accelerate as quick as you can, then decelerate again, getting into that nice good position. Now, practice is very simple drills, 5-10 meters. Mechanics are right, but the more and more you practice these stuff, the more and more they're going to transfer over to your sport. It's very, very important that we get the basics right before we start talking about agility, because that's more the reactive stimulus. We talk about change of direction. This is not so much change of direction, but these are the components of change of direction. To get these right, the change of direction, agility, all the layers upon it become easier to manage if you master the skills. Okay. Last bit I want you to do, you're the advanced athlete, so now I want you to do three sets of 6 repetitions of this. So this is a bit of a false setup in terms of the distances aren't real. This should be 10 meters to the first cone, so I jog 10 meters, this is taking out the acceleration component. Once I hit 10 meters, I want you to increase your speed to again only 75%, so 3/4 pace. So I'm sprinting at 75%, then once I hit the 30-meter mark, so this should be 30 meters, I want to slow down gradually to stop. I rest here for 15-20 seconds, prepare myself again, take out the acceleration, then open up 75% only, and then gradually slow down. 6 times I want you to do this, take a rest of about 2 minutes, and then repeat, I think, 3 times. So now we're getting a bit of volume in. Yes, this isn't speed training necessarily, it's preparing our bodies for what is about to come. If we can build the foundations, I always say, and you start layering these things up, eventually then when the program ramps up to the high intensity and you go back to your sport, you'll have laid good foundations for you to benefit from the sport that you're about to play. So that's the end of the block 2. I hope you enjoyed it. Keep working hard, keep getting the mechanics right, and I'll see you very soon.